Welcome to the heart and mind of business. If you are a new entrepreneur, then you'll know that you are always coming up against decision making. So how do you make decisions? Do you find them easy or do you find them difficult? This is the topic of today's show, 4 steps to making great decisions. We'll see you inside the show. So welcome, I'm Debbie Clement-Large.
And I'm Clara Rose. Thank you for joining us once again today.
And we're talking about making decisions because that can be super hard sometimes, Clara, can't it?
And we are in every stage of a new business, especially we are making decisions. Not that that's going to go away later when you're not a brand new business anymore. We're going to continue to make decisions. But today, let's talk about some of the things that we're afraid of in the decision making, right? It's like, what if I make the wrong decision? What if I don't make the right choice? And we can become paralyzed in the analysis paralysis, the overwhelm of making decisions. And so we're here today to talk about 4 steps that you can use that is going to make it easier to make good decisions, right? Okay. So I'm going to start with the 2 that if you know me, are coming for me, and they're very tactical, strategic things. And number 1 is going to be research. Whatever decision that you need to make, go get the research. We talked about it last month. We talk about it in the passion discussion in our book. It's so important to do your due diligence, do the research, find out the truth, not what your coworker told you or your sibling told you or your friend told you. Go find out the truth for yourself. We live in a world where information is plentiful. So go discover the truth about whatever decision that you're trying to make. That's step 1. Get the facts, just the facts, man. And then number 2, this is an old trick and you've heard it 1,000 times. Sit down and write out your pros and cons, right? Make a list. Don't try to keep it in your head to figure it out, because you'll end up just spinning, right? But this, but that, but this, but that, right? Get them on paper. Write down every pro that you can think of, every con that you can think of, and then really wait. Sometimes it's emotional. There's an emotional connection to one side or the other that we don't even recognize, right? So getting it on paper can help us be strategic about the decision that we're going to make. I think it works for pretty much any choice that we need to make. If there are twice as many pros than cons, there's something else in the way of you going, oh yeah, this totally is the right decision to go left or right. Okay, so steps 1 and 2, research and your pros and cons list. There's more.
I love those steps, Clara. So yeah, knowledge. Actually, that's great. Really, not like you say, not taking other people's opinions, but actually really finding out for yourself and what feels right for you. And yeah, and pros and cons, externalizing what's going on in your head. That's wonderful, because actually that becomes a soupy mess in your head if you just let it all around.
Yes, soupy mess is a great term.
Yeah, externalizing that out, writing it down, seeing it for what it is, but not feeling like you've got to do it in half an hour. That give yourself, even over a few days or a week or several weeks, as things come to you, pop them down on the list.
Yep, I totally agree. We do that a lot in the writing world. We call it cooling, right? We write something and then we set it aside to cool and do something else, so that when you go back to it, you have fresh eyes.
That is so true. When you look back and you think, I have no idea what that means, but it obviously meant something when I was writing it.
That's right. At the time, that made sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's about taking a step back and a bit of a breather and looking at it from an observer point of view, almost, to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Love your steps. Thank you for sharing those. Okay. So step 3. You've probably heard this one before. There are no wrong decisions. I am a great believer that nothing happens by chance. There is a reason that things happen. But it depends on our perspective. So if we are seeing it as failure, that we've done something wrong, that we've been bad, or that's all our perspective, and we can learn to change that. So there's nothing wrong with something not happening out or making what we would deem as a wrong decision. But really, what is a wrong decision? It's just taking us maybe down a path that we don't want to go. But we can learn so much from that. We can learn about ourselves. We can learn about the journey that actually, this isn't what I want to do. I want to do this instead. Or so look at it as feedback. Don't look at it as failure. Don't take it as personal. Just what can you learn from it? What would you do differently? Yeah. And I think
Yes.
it's really important that you don't beat yourself up. You don't get critical with yourself about it, that I'm not good enough or I never get anything right. That we're just having a go at ourselves. And really, we want to tame that critical voice and coming back to thinking sometimes things just happen.
They
And that's
do. And sometimes the results are out of our control, right? We've made a choice or decision and something else was out of our control. We didn't have, and you can't do anything about that. Life, things happen, but being able to look at it from the right perspective and go, oh, look at this wonderful thing that I did learn, or this wonderful thing that did come out of this. It's not the picture that I thought it was going to be, and that's okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Good
And
advice.
sometimes it can end up a better picture because we can't always get our ducks in a row. We can't, like you say, we can't control anybody else or what anything
Yes.
else happens. And,
So
there's
true.
no wrong decision is step 3. Step 4. So I do a really great exercise with some of my clients sometimes where I sit them down and take them through a visualization journey. So if you're in the place and you've got a couple of options, so you've done Clara's list, you've done pros and cons, maybe you've got 2 options. I could do A or I could do B. And we can swim in that place of uncertainty. Do I do this path? Do I do that path? Which is right? They both got the same level of pros and I don't know what to do. And we end up, because we feel the lack of clarity and that lack of direction, we can end up swimming in it and spinning in it because
Yep.
we're feeling it and we're expecting to feel more of it. And that's where we just end up going. So this exercise really just takes you on a path. And when you get to one point in the path forks. So you stop for a second and you think, okay, the path on the left takes me to this option and the path on the right takes me to the other option. So you journey yourself along that path and you take yourself into the situation and say it is you're going to buy a business or buy something. And then you just see what it is like when you're doing that work, when you're in that business, when you're performing the day-to-day. How does it feel? Who are you interacting with? So it's like a mental movie, not that you're watching on a screen, but that you're part of. You just put yourself in that image and you can get a really good idea of what it feels like. And once you've spent a little bit of time, a few minutes, a couple of minutes in that, you bring yourself back out onto the main path, into that fork in the road again. And then you think, right, okay, this time I'm going to take the other fork into option B. And in your mind, you take that journey down and you open the door almost on that scene and you step into it and you see the other option. And maybe the other option is working for an employer rather than being self-employed. And then you see what it's like, what it is like going in and doing that job and being asked to do things that maybe you don't want to do, or maybe it's everything you want to do. And you just play that out and pay attention to how are you feeling, what it's like in that situation. And then you bring yourself back to that fork in the road and you, from an observer point of view, which felt better? Which option did you feel more in alignment? Which did you resonate with? Where did you feel more comfortable, if you like? And from that place, it's a really great way to make a decision.
And that's a great way to know if that decision that you were trying to make, that you were so conflicted about, if there really is something else, something emotional, something in the way, right? Because you've literally stepped into both scenes and said, oh gosh, I really do like that paycheck coming in. I'm willing to do this other for that security. Or boy, I sure didn't like the way that made me feel, that stifled me, that I really like that other better. So just the decision making, emotional side of things, that step 4, I think, is critical to walk through all those pieces. There,
But
now you have all the tools to make any decision.
you do. But I love what
Right.
you said, Clara, about if something doesn't feel right in some way, there could be a belief getting in the way. And that's the
Yep.
important thing in coaching, is actually whether that's from a strategic point of view, like with Clara, and getting past the blocks and the limitations that we can have, but also the mindset piece and what you believe what you're capable of, what you believe about success and failure, and what you believe about, your capabilities, and actually reaching out to somebody and getting some help to understand what it is that can be getting in your way, because really there are no limits to what you can imagine, and whatever you can imagine you can bring into reality. The only
Yep.
limits we face are our own limits.
Yep. What are you willing to do to get there? What are you willing to overcome to get there? Sometimes you have to overcome your own stuff, right?
All
Right.
about overcoming your own
Your
stuff.
own stuff, which we all have our own stuff. Yes. Good stuff today. Thank you guys so much for being with us once again. We love that you join us each week. Don't forget to subscribe, leave comments, tell us what other kinds of things you'd love to hear from us. Otherwise, we're just going to keep giving you stuff that we think that you need to be successful in this journey. But thank you so much for being with us once again.
Yeah, it's been great being part of your journey. So thank you for being, and I look forward to hearing more about what's going on for you so that we can help to
Absolutely.
share some more of some tips and tools to help you.
All right, guys, have a great week. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week. So like and subscribe and have a great week.
Bye-bye.